Hi, I'm Kathy Thomas, aka Lady C, and in this next hour, I'm going to be talking about Microsoft Word Power Shortcuts. I plan on helping you to learn some of the most frequently used features that I work with my students. And Microsoft has been one of my biggest training components that I've worked in because Microsoft, kind of like in the business world, most people use Microsoft products. And so, of course, that is what I've been training people in for over 20 years. In fact, I started with Microsoft Word version 2.0. So you can imagine what I've been through over the years as Microsoft has made these changes to the system. So anyway, I'm going to start off talking about some defaults because a lot of times people, they work with Microsoft products and they find themselves doing things the long way, and they don't realize that if they just took 5 minutes out of their day and addressed some of the defaults, they could, save a whole lot more time and frustration. So as you can see on the screen right now, I'm sitting here at the start screen, and this could be an issue that you may have and trying to figure out why are you, every time you got to start Microsoft Word, why can't you just bypass this screen? So we're going to kind of talk about how to do that right now. So all you have to do from this window is go down and choose Options. Once you choose Options, the General tab is already selected, and that's where you want to be. We're going to just scroll down under the Startup Options and remove the check mark next to Show the Start Screen when this application starts. Once you do that, choose OK. OK, so the next time you launch Microsoft Word, it's going to bypass the start screen. So, and if you want to turn it back on, just simply follow the same steps that you did to turn it off. Okay, so now you see I've turned the start screen back on, and now notice how we are at the screen where you don't see any recent documents. Well, guess what? I actually turned those recent documents off for the sake of training, but now what I want to do is turn your attention to the default so that you can see how many recent documents you can view at a time. But keep in mind, you can only view up to 50 recent documents. So let's just take a look at this and see how this works. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Options in the window. Just choose Options. You're going to choose the Advanced tab, and you're going to scroll all the way down to Display. And you're going to notice that Show this number of recent documents is set to 0. Now, if I click my mouse in the box and type 50, that's as far as it'll let me go. So if I try to go any further than 50, that's it. But in this case, I'm only going to ask for the last 10 recent documents. So I could either use the up or down arrows to take me down to 10, or I could just simply, the text is already highlighted, just type 10. Okay? So you see how that works? You can either click in the box and type the number, or you can use the up and down arrows to arrive at the number of recent documents that you would like to see in the window. So what I'm going to do now is choose OK. Now I'm going to exit Microsoft Word, and I'm going to go back in. And this time you're going to see all of the documents that I have that are recent. So you're able to see the files that I've been working on. And so that's all you would have to do. All right, we're back. I'm back at the start screen, and I have once again shut off my recent documents. But now we're going to focus on saving to a default file location. Now, this is an interesting thing to do. A lot of people, they may work in the same folder, and they get tired of having to navigate to it, so they want to create a default location where they can save all of their files to. Well, this works sometimes. Let me explain how it works. When you're using Microsoft, when you save a file, when you initially open up Microsoft Word, it will allow you to navigate to this folder that you identified as your default file location. But if you were to save someplace different the next time, it remembers the last place where you actually saved to. So then when you get ready to save again, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go to my default file location, and it doesn't happen. Now, it will go to the default file location if you actually close out of Microsoft Word and go back in. The default is set. So that's the complicated thing that Microsoft does to its users. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to show you how to set that default folder. We're going to once again go to the Options window, and I'm going to choose Options, and then I'm going to choose the Save tab. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the default local file location in the window. As you can see, it's got my Kathy Thomas, and I'm going into my Documents folder. So I'm going to hold the window key on the keyboard and tap the letter E. Because what I want to do is just kind of show you that I'm going to my Documents folder. This is where my current default is set to, okay? But what I'd like to do is set my default to my OneDrive. So I'm going to go back into Microsoft Word, and I'm going to go here to Save. I'm going to go to the default local file location, choose Browse, and then I'm going to navigate to my OneDrive. And I'm going to choose OneDrive, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. And now you're going to notice that it adds it to the path. The next thing I'm going to do is choose OK to close the window. So right now, I do not have an open document in the window, so I need to create a new document, and I just want to bring one up really quick. So all I'm going to do is use a keyboard shortcut, Control-N. What that will do is create a new document so that I can now attempt to save it and see if the system is going to direct my save to my new location. I'm going to press the F12 key on the keyboard. I'll talk about that more later in the next lesson, but right now I'm just doing this for simplicity. Notice how it takes me straight to OneDrive. And then, of course, right here in the window to the right, you'll see the folder structure that is on my OneDrive. I got documents, files, notebooks, and things like that. But what I'm going to do is just make this a test document and type test, and then it's going to be saved right on the root, and I'm going to choose Save. Okay, so this file is saved on my OneDrive, and what I'm going to do is, once again, hold down the window key and tap the letter E. That takes me to my Windows Explorer. I'm going to go straight over to my OneDrive, and notice how my test document is saved right there on the root. All right. I hope that worked well for you. Okay, now I got a bonus tip for you on this default situation. Now, let's say, for instance, you're working in a network printer environment, and you have your printer set to 9_10. You're on the 9th floor, and it's printer 10. And then let's just say someone in a different office wants you to print a report for them, but they want you to print it to their actual printer, and you do so. Keep in mind that the printer is going to remember the last place you printed to if you change from your default. So I just want to give you a heads up on that, because no one wants to be embarrassed. No one wants to be in a situation where you think you're printing to your default and the printer is remembering the last place you printed to. So that's your bonus tip here. Okay, and now while we're talking about being embarrassed, let's move on to the spell check. Because in the spell check section, a lot of people don't know this, but by default, Microsoft has it set up so that it does not automatically check words in uppercase. So imagine printing out a report for a proposal, and you've got some uppercase headings, and it's not being spell checked, and you think everything is all working, and it's not. So let me just show you how this works, and then you determine whether or not you want to change this default in the system. So let's go back to our File Options, and let's see if we can address this issue here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the Proofing tab, and then we're going to come down to Ignore Words in Uppercase and remove the check mark, and then we're going to choose OK. And now you're going to see there's 3 words that's misspelled in our document. So I just want to let you know that this is how you do this for those individuals who don't realize that this setting is on by default. All right, now I want to call your attention to something called the Show Hide. The Show Hide is a feature that allows you to show the non-printing characters that Microsoft uses to identify a page break, a section break, and things like that. And it's very helpful. And I'm going to show you why it's helpful. So let's get into it right now. So what it does is it shows paragraph marks and other formatting symbols. For instance, when I hit the Enter key on the keyboard, it shows me paragraph symbols. If I press the space bar button, it shows my spaces. If I press the tab key, it shows you my tabs. If I create a table, insert table, if I do a 3x3 table, notice how these there's these little circles inside of my table. And if I just start typing, notice how the little circle there, it kind of moves with the text. So the little circle is simply an end of cell marker. If I go into create a new page, if I hit the Control Enter, because like a lot of people, they may decide to keep hitting the Enter key on the keyboard just to get to the next page. But the easiest way to do this would be to hit Control Enter on the keyboard. At that point, it gives you a new page. So now notice how when I scroll back up, by me having the Show Hide on, I can see the page break. If I keep going down to the next page, notice those paragraph symbols, they kind of trail down there, and that's because where I had my cursor blinking, when I hit the Control Enter key, is where it broke the page. So then it took those paragraph symbols to the next page. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how to create a new section. And I'm going to click at the end of the last paragraph symbol so that it appears right there. And I'm going to choose Layout, come to Breaks and click on Breaks and choose Next Page. So now I'm going to scroll back up. Now you see Section Break, Next Page. So now you see why these non-printing characters, as they call them, really are important when you're working in a document. I'm going to go back to the Home tab. I'm now going to turn off these non-printing characters. And now look, your whole document, you don't even know what's going on here. And I can tell you for a certainty, if you delete a section out of your document and you already have it formatted the way you need it to be formatted, you could run into a lot of problems. So when you're working and doing a lot of editing, I would highly recommend that you keep the Show Hide button on. Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to be working with bullets and numbers. And you're going to see on the screen, I have a list that I'm going to apply bullets to. So in order for me to do that, I need to select my text. So I'm going to come over to the left and drag my cursor over each one of the items to select it. Then I'm going to come up to the menu bar or the ribbon, and I'm going to point to the bullet and simply click on it. And so you're going to notice how the system will go ahead and apply bullets to my selected text. But it also took away the space that was in between each line that was there previous. So let's just undo this action so you can see what I'm talking about. So right now, if you don't know how to do the undo, the shortcut key is Control Z on the keyboard. So I can do Control Z on the keyboard, and notice how it will undo this for me. Look at the space that I had in my document before I applied those bullets. Now what I'm going to do is reapply the bullets. This time, I'm going to go to the Paragraph Dialog Launcher, click on the little down pointing arrow, and I want to call your attention to this checkbox under the word spacing in the spacing grouping. And you need to remove the check mark from that, because when that box is checked, it's not going to allow you to add any space between the paragraphs of the same style. So watch what happens when I choose OK. Notice how my space appears after each line. So that's how you correct that. You can also choose to change this into numbers. The text is still selected, so I could also just choose the numbering scheme. And notice how instead of bullets being there, I have numbers. So that's how you would work with that. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you bullets that may be out of alignment. And sometimes this happens. And in order to fix it, you can either, reapply the bullet by highlighting the bullet that's out of alignment, like I have here. Click on the bullet to turn it off, and then click on the bullet again to turn it back on. And now notice how that bullet jumps into an alignment with the other bullets in the paragraph. However, sometimes this just doesn't work. Sometimes the bullet just has a mind of its own, and you have to take drastic measures. So another way you can get this to work is copy the formatting from the bullet that is working. So let's say I'm going to go to this one here, create tabs using the ruler, and I'm going to go to the paragraph symbol, and I'm going to highlight the paragraph symbol, and I'm going to right-click on it and choose Copy. Come down to the one that's not working, the one that's out of alignment, highlight that, right-click on it, choose Paste, and see how that works? I mean, you can't go wrong when you copy and paste formatting from one paragraph symbol to another in Microsoft Word. It has always worked for me, and I do it all the time. Okay, so I hope that you are enjoying these tips. And the next tip I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to work with a tab leader. I know most people don't even use tabs in Microsoft, but I like to show tabs because sometimes they come in handy. So the tab leader allows you to even create a menu. And what you do is you set your tab stop so that it goes over to the priced item on the menu. And so a lot of people have found that to be interesting to do. And then sometimes people may decide to create a table of contents from scratch, and they want to do it manually. But later on, at the end of this lesson, I'm going to show you how to do a table of contents that generates automatically in a document. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to it and start working with the tab leader. And I'm going to next take you into the table of contents. But first of all, let's just kind of talk about this tab leader. So a tab leader is none other than a tab that allows you to use a dotted line to point to like a page number or even a restaurant menu to a price list. So let me just go ahead and just get started to show you what I'm going to do here. We're on this page with tab leader as my heading. And what I'm going to do is I would like to create a tab leader so it goes to the 5.5 marker on the ruler. Now, if your ruler is not showing up on the ribbon, then you have to choose View and then make sure there's a check mark next to Ruler. And if it's there, you're good to go. I'm going to go back to the Home tab, though. And I'm going to choose the Paragraph Launcher, and I'm going to go down to Tabs. And I'm going to go ahead and set a tab stop at 5.5, 5.5. And I'm going to choose the number 2 style leader, which is a dot. And I'm going to choose Set. And next, I'm going to choose OK. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and type in Introduction, like I'm writing a book or something. Press the Tab key. That's going to be on page 1. Press the Enter key. Type Chapter 1. Press the Tab key to initiate the tab leader. That'll be on page 4. Enter key. Chapter 2. Hit the Tab key. That'll start on page 8. So that's how you create a tab leader. It's very simple. All you're going to do is just identify where you want your tab leader to stop so you can begin typing the letters, numbers, or whatever it is you want to put to the right of that leader. And then you hit the Enter key, you go to the next line, and you continue on. The only thing that can be an issue with the tab leader is if you want to make a change to the pages. Because what's going to end up happening is you're going to have to manually change it each time the page number changes. I hope you enjoyed that tip there on the tab leader. It comes in handy, as I stated before. And now in the upcoming lesson, I'm going to talk about creating a table of contents. Now, a table of contents is very simple to do as long as you understand how to work with styles in Microsoft Word. And the way you identify your table of contents item is using the heading styles. And what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to actually work with heading styles 1 through 3. And we're going to apply them to the document and then generate the table of contents. And I'll show you all of the bells and whistles that goes along with it. Now, in order to get this table of contents to work, you're going to have to initiate a style. And what I'm going to do in this lesson is show you how to use style heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. So we're only going to work with 3 different headings. Now, my first heading is going to be equipment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight equipment, and I'm going to press, and I'm going to go up here to the toolbar, and notice I'm still on the Home tab, and I'm going to choose heading 1. Now, what type of equipment do we have? We have a laptop, and I'm going to choose heading 2 for that. And then, of course, the company types, So the third heading is going to be for the Dell and the Microsoft and the Mac. So those are my level 3s right there. And I'm going to choose heading 3. And then, of course, for my tablet, I'm going to select that, choose heading 2. Smartphones, heading 2. And for the Android and iOS, that will be a heading 3. Okay, so now you notice that I have actually identified all of my headings for my document. And of course, you're not going to do it like this, but you would actually have your document all written up and everything. I'm just showing you how to apply the headings 1 through 3 so that when we get ready to run our table of contents, you will see exactly what happens. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose References on the ribbon. I'm going to come to the far left-hand side, and I'm going to click on Table of Contents. And I'm going to choose Automatic Table 1. And what you're going to notice is my table of contents has been generated. So all of the items are on page 2 because that's where all of the headings and stuff are located, on page 2. Okay? So we can begin to move things around so that you can show how it looks when you have multiple pages. So give me a second and I will do that shortly. But first of all, let me go ahead and move things around a little bit because I would like to move this equipment and everything so that it appears after the table of contents. So I'm going to just highlight that, choose Control X to cut it, come behind there and go down to the second paragraph symbol under the table of contents and choose Control V to paste that. Okay? So it still should be working. My table of contents should still be good to go. I just didn't want it before my text. Or I didn't want my text before the table of contents. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to change these items up a little bit and put them on different pages. So what I'd like to do is I would like to go to the tablets, click in front of the T in tablets, and press Control Enter. I want a page there. I want to go to the smartphones, put a page there. Okay. So now what you're noticing is that I've put the items on different pages. In fact, I'm going to put equipment on an entirely different page than the table of contents. And notice I'm pressing Control Enter to get to my page break. If you could not remember Control Enter, all you have to do is go to the ribbon and choose Layout and choose Break and then choose Page. Okay? So it's either Control Enter or Layout Breaks Page. Okay, now let's go back to our table of contents. Now, notice, even though I have not, even though I've put these items on different pages, notice how my table of contents has not updated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on the table of contents, and I'm going to choose Update Field. And notice how it says that you can update either your page numbers only, or you can choose to update your entire table. Well, since my headings have not changed, it is safe for me to just change the page numbers. So I'm just going to opt to choose the first one, the first radio button, and then choose OK. And you're going to notice that my page numbers have changed to coincide with the page that each one of these headings now resides in. All right. Now, I'm going to go to page number 5. And what I want to do is change iOS to iPhone, just for the sake of this exercise. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the F5 key on the keyboard so I can go to the page quickly. And then I'm going to type 5. And page is already highlighted. Choose Go To. And notice how it quickly takes me to page 5. You can also go to a section, a line, a bookmark, a footnote, all different types of places in the document using the F5 key. I'm going to go ahead and close the window here. I'm going to double click on the word iOS and change it to iPhone. Just for the sake of the lesson. And then, of course, I'm going to Control Home on the keyboard. It's going to take me to the very beginning of the document, and I'm going to go down and page down to get to the next one, next page. Okay. I just wanted to show you Control Home to show you how you could go to the beginning of the document with Control Home, and if you press Control End on the keyboard, it'll take you to the last page in your document. Okay? So I could have just did Control End and got there as well. But now I'm going to do F5, and I'm going to ask to go to page 2, and I'm going to choose Go To, and I'm there at my table of contents. Okay. Now, I want to update my table of contents now. Remember, if I right-click on here and choose Update Field, wait a minute. Remember, if I right-click in here and choose Update Field, either do page numbers only or update the entire table. So what I want to do is I want to update the entire table and then choose OK. And what you're going to notice is it changed it from iOS to iPhone. So now you see how you can run a table of contents using these heading styles. And I used heading styles 1, 2, and 3. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can change these heading styles if you are not satisfied with the font. So I'm going to go to heading 1 on the ribbon, point to it, right-click on it, and I'm going to choose Modify. And I want to change it from this blue font to the black one. I'm going to change it from blue to black. And then I'm going to change the font to Anton and choose OK. I don't like that font, but I'm just showing you how it looks. Then I'm going to go to heading style 2, right-click on it, choose Modify. I'm going to come down and make this font red. And then I'm going to change it from Calibri to Times New Roman. Choose OK. And lastly, I'm going to change heading style 3. Right-click on that, choose Modify. Make this a different color blue. Change the formatting to, let's make this Book Antiqua. I'm just going to type in Book Antiqua, choose OK. Choose Book Antiqua and choose OK. So now, check it out. I have changed all of my headings. So if you scroll through the document, you will notice that all the headings are changed according to whatever heading style you applied. All right, now I'm getting ready to work with a system-generated section break. And what I mean by that is I'm going to give the computer instructions that I want a specific portion of my document to be in landscape. And I'm not going to have to do anything but give the computer instructions to tell it what portion of my document I want to change. So notice how we have this document on the screen. It's a 2-page document. I'm just going to kind of scroll through here and show you that we got 2 pages. Actually, it's not quite 2 pages because it's only 1 page. It only has 1 line. But what I'm going to do is I want this keyboard shortcut, what it does. I want that to be landscape. So all you got to do is select the text that you want landscape. Then you go up to Layout, go to your margins, go down to Custom Margins, and then go to Landscape, choose Landscape. Notice how in the preview it says Apply to Whole Document. Well, I don't want that. I want it to only apply it to the selected text. Then choose OK. Now what you're going to notice is it partitions out the document. It keeps the first part of the document in portrait, and then it takes the part that you highlighted, makes it landscape, adds a system-generated section break, and then the last page actually shows that the last page is in portrait. So when I say system-generated, I mean you didn't have to know how to go and choose the section break and where to put your cursor or anything. It just automatically does it for you. So this is what people may not realize they're doing when they're working with the computer. They may not realize that they're giving the computer instructions to change the document. And this is why when I was talking to you earlier about the Show Hide button, about how it's important that you don't turn it off, because notice how when I go to the ribbon and go to the Home tab on the ribbon and I turned off the Show Hide button, notice how you can no longer see the section break. And that can be dangerous because if you start deleting things, you don't know what you're deleting, and you don't know that you're messing up the formatting in your document. All right, next on the list is headers and footers. Well, what is a header? What is a footer? A header is all the text that you put at the top of a document, and a footer is the text that goes at the bottom of the document. And what I mean by that is it prints on every page. So if I identify a header that I want on my document, it's going to print on every page of my document. And the same thing with the footer. It's going to print the same text at the bottom of each one of my pages. And I'm going to also show you how you can suppress the header on the first page. So let's hop to it. Okay, so what I want to do is call your attention to the ribbon, go to the Insert tab on the ribbon, and go all the way to the right. You got your header, your footer, and your page number. Now, a header simply allows you to put the same information at the top of the page on every page. And a footer does everything the same at the bottom of the page. It allows you to put the same information at the bottom of each page. And then the page number allows you to put your page number either at the top or bottom of the page. So really what we're going to be working with in this lesson is going to be the page number. And the page number is going to be situated in the footer. So I'm going to just go to page number, click on that, and I'm going to choose bottom of page. When I point to bottom of page, you're going to notice that the system has some pre-configured page number types that you can apply to your document. So if you take the scroll box and just drag down, you'll notice all of the different built-in page numbering styles. The one I'm going to choose is the one that has the brackets on it and the horizontal line. And then you're going to notice that it's going to show up in my footer. Now, I don't want to have a page number on my first page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the ribbon at the top, take a look where right up under the header and footer area under the options grouping, and we're going to choose and we're going to click in the checkbox different first page. And what you're going to notice down there in the footer is it's going to remove itself from the footer. Now, I'm going to go to the top and choose Close Header and Footer on the ribbon. And now I'm on page 1, and there's nothing showing up on page 1. So now I'm ready to go ahead and create my next page, and I'm going to choose Control Enter to create a new page break. Notice how you're at the bottom of the page, but when you go to the bottom of the second page, you'll notice that page 2 will show up right there. So that's how you would do headers and footers. Now, as I stated earlier in my opening, I talked about how I have been with Microsoft Word since version 2.0. And when we started working with documents in the cloud and multiple places that you could save files to, it became a headache. And so in the next lesson, I want to talk about various ways that you can use to save your files and see how you can, and what I want to show you is the easy way to do that, because there's a lot of different ways that you can save a document in Microsoft, and this goes across the board with the entire suite. So if you learn how to use it in here, it'll also help you with the other Microsoft applications and other applications as well. So let's hop to it. The first thing I want to talk about is if I were to choose Save As. But first of all, before I get started, know that I have a document on the screen. So we do have something to save, even though there's no text that's written in this document. So let me just write something real quick. Testing 1, 2, 3, and hit the Enter key, right? So now I'm going to choose File, Save As. And notice how what it's trying to do is trying to give me some options. It's letting me know I can save on OneDrive, SharePoint, I can go to this PC, add a place, or browse, okay? And it's also showing up my default that we set up earlier that's going actually to OneDrive. So that's an option for me to save. But these can quickly get overwhelming after a period of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you even a more easier way to do this. So what we're going to do, I'm going to back out of here. And this time, I think I had mentioned before in an earlier previous lesson to hit the F12 key on the keyboard. Now keep in mind, this works in Windows, okay? So when you press the F12 key, the computer opens up the window to your local drives. So if you want to go to your C drive, or you want to scroll up here and you want to go to Dropbox that I have there, or if I want to go to my OneDrive and everything is all set and ready to go, right? That's what I like about the F12 key. It just takes me straight to my local drives, and then I choose to scroll up or down and get to where I need to go and save my file. That's my option of choice. But you also notice that it allows you to take you straight to your default file location that we set earlier, okay? So that's an option as well. And I think this is exactly where I'm going to go, because I'm right here at the OneDrive. And I'm going to put it in my Documents folder. So this time I'm going to double-click on Documents instead of saving it directly on the root. So I'm going to double-click on Documents, and then I'm going to go to Letters, and then I'm going to save it right there. Okay, so my testing 1, 2, 3 document is saved right there. You're going to also notice that the name of the file is called testing 1, 2, 3, because mainly whenever you save a document, Microsoft Word tries to give it the name of the first item that it sees in the first row, okay? So that's what that's all about. All right, so now what we're going to do next is we're going to visit, like I told you before, we're going to visit Windows Explorer. So once again, I'm going to hold down the Window key on the keyboard, and I'm going to tap the letter E. So Window E is going to take me to my Windows Explorer, so I can go and see where my file is. So I'm going to go ahead on and go to my OneDrive. I'm going to go to my Documents, and I'm going to go to Letters. And you're going to see that testing 1, 2, 3 document is right there, okay? So that's how you were able to test that. Now I'm going to go ahead and close out of here, and I'm going to attempt to save this file again with a new name, okay? So you can't just choose the save icon, because choosing the save icon is only going to update the file. It's not going to let you save it with a new name. So once again, you got to choose F12 on the keyboard in order for you to get in a save as status. So press F12, and then I'm going to go save my new document on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and choose desktop. I'm going to go ahead and save it with a different name this time. So all I'm going to do is just highlight this name and then just type another test, 1, 2, 3. And then, of course, I'm going to choose save. Okay? So now I got 2 documents with the text 1, 2, 3 in it, testing 1, 2, 3. So now what I want to do is I want to show you something. Remember when we actually set up the system and we told this system to make our default file location to be at the OneDrive, the OneDrive documents? Well, what I want to show you now is what's going to happen. Because we have not closed out of Microsoft Word and we're continuing to work, I want you to pay attention to what's going to happen next. I'm going to hit the F12 key to save as, but I want you to notice where this is trying to save. This is trying to save the file on my desktop. Now, the reason why it's doing this is because Microsoft is trying to do you a favor. Microsoft said, I believe, don't quote me, I believe that because the last time they saved a document, They saved it on the desktop. I think this is where they also want to save the next document. And this is like across the board. And it also happens in other applications as well. So just be careful. When you are saving a document, just because you've created a local default file location does not mean that it goes there every time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. I'm going to close out of my Microsoft Word application. I got a lot of files open here. And then I should just be able to I'm going to right click on it and just choose close all windows. So it just takes me on out of there. That's the quick way to get out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Microsoft Word again and just show you what happens when you start from scratch. So I've closed out of Word. I came back in. I'm going to hit the F12 key, and voila, it's going back to my default local file location. So do you get it? It will do this when you're saving to that location all the time, but if you switch up, it's going to save it to the last place that you tried to save to, and if you restart Microsoft Word, it will go ahead back to your default local file location. Okay? So that's how that works. Now, the third thing I'm going to do is show you how to save using the icon. Now, you know we just created a new document, so it's going to allow us to do a save as, even though save really just updates. But since this document does not have a name, I'm going to choose save, the save icon at the top of this screen. Now, I get a totally different window that I can go to if I choose the save icon, and the document has not been saved before. So notice how it brings me over to my default local file location. Then if I click on the drop-down arrow, I can choose my folder, Documents. And then I can go ahead on and choose more options if I want to. And then notice how it brings me over into my OneDrive, and I can go to my documents, my files, my notebooks, that's located on my OneDrive root. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Documents, and I'm going to choose Letters, and I'm going to name the document Testing Again, and choose Save. All right, so those were 3 different ways to save documents using Microsoft Word, which also corresponds to the other applications in the suite. Okay, so now the next thing I want to call your attention to is Microsoft Word templates. I find that this is one of the most underutilized features in the suite because a lot of people, they don't even know that templates exist, at least the people that I'm talking to in my classes. I've polled my users, I've asked them what they think about templates, and most of them don't even realize that they exist, even though they show up on the Start menu. They just get past the menu and go do their thing. But they don't realize that the things on that menu should be something that interests them. So let's get into this next exercise as I talk to you about Microsoft Word's templates. Okay, now in this exercise, we're going to focus on creating our own template that we want to save and call up later to use each time we need to create a memo. And I've got it filled out already, and it's coming from John Doe or Sally Doe or whatever your name is. And if you're going to be the only one that's going to be writing the memo, then you want to put your name there. But let's just say for the sake of this exercise, I want to show you how to do something in here, how to select some text. Let's just say, for instance, you wanted to make the to, from, date, and subject all uppercase. I just want to show you a quick tip. If you hold the Alt key down on the keyboard while you select the text, to, from, date, and subject, notice how you go all the way over only as far as you need to, and then release the mouse and release the Alt key, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the Font Dialog Box Launcher, click on that. When the window opens, choose All Caps, and then choose OK. So this is just a bonus, just trying to show you how you can select text without going all the way across the line, just using the Alt key. And it only selects the text that you want in that particular area. Now, we are ready to save this memo as a template. And so what we're going to do is press the F12 key on the keyboard, and we're going to name it My Personal Memo. Come down to the Save As Type and choose Word Template. And then choose Save. So now we're going to go ahead and close this file. Control W. And now we're going to go ahead and bring it back up. How do we get back to our template so that we can generate this template every time we want to use it? All you have to do is choose File, New, come down to Personal, and then go to My Personal Memo, click on it, and there you are. And you're going to also notice how when you chose the text, that the John Doe did not get affected when you made the to, from, date, and subject uppercase. So that's because when you chose that's because when you chose Alt and you selected the text, the system allowed you to keep from going all the way over to select John Doe. So therefore, that text did not get affected with the uppercase change. So that's how you do that. I want to talk about defaults for the font and the paragraph. So like right now, you notice that Calibri Body 11 is showing up. If I create a new blank document just by pressing Control N like Nancy or N like new, every time I choose Control N to create a new document, notice how I get the same font and size of font. Okay. But what I'd like to do is, I really don't like the Calibri 11. Let's just say I don't like that. And I want a different font to work with every time I launch Microsoft Word. Well, right here on the ribbon on the Home tab, there's something called a dialog launcher. And there's like a little arrow there right under the word, right next to the word font. You see one for clipboard, font, paragraph, styles, and all that. So if you click on that little arrow next to font, it's going to open up the font dialog box, giving me further options to make changes to my font. But what I'd like to do is every time I create a new document, maybe I want to use Times New Roman. Now, all I'm going to do, notice how the word body is already highlighted. If I start typing Times, see how it just replaces that text? And now all I have to do is choose Times New Roman, and I want it to be 0.12, or the size is going to be 12. So then what I want to do next, after I choose these options, I want to choose Set as Default. Notice how the window is asking me, how do I want to save this document only, or all documents based on the normal template? I'm going to choose the second one because I want every document that I create going forward to always have Times New Roman and a point size of 12. So I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. And then when I create my new document with Control N, notice how each time I create a new document, it is starting out with Times New Roman 12. And you can tell that I'm creating new documents because when you look at the top of my screen in the blue area up here, see how it shows document 7? If I do Control N again, it's going to give me document 8. Control N again, document 9. So that's how you know that you're getting a new document on the screen. So this is how you would go in and change your default font. Now, the other thing I want to do is show you how to make changes to your paragraph. We're going to first go in and see what kind of settings we have right now. So I'm going to go over to the next grouping for paragraph. And I'm going to choose that little arrow, the down pointing arrow, and then notice what I get. Notice how it's giving me under the spacing. It doesn't give me any spaces before the paragraph, but it does give me 8 points after each paragraph. And then it's using a line spacing of multiple 1.08. So this is what you get out the box when you get your Microsoft Word. This is the default setting. Well, let's just say I don't want that. Let's just say I would like to get no spaces before and after. So you notice how I hit the down arrow to get rid of that 8 to take me down to 0. And I'm going to go to line spacing and click on the drop down arrow and choose single. So now I'm not going to get all of the default settings for my paragraph that comes out the box. So what I would like to do is I'd like to set this as my default. And then I want to make it based on all the templates or all the documents that I'm creating going forward. So I'm going to choose the second radio button here, and I'm going to click OK. And so now when I create a new document and going forward, it's going to give me the same dimensions in my paragraph spacing. What this basically means is, let's say I type in Dear John. What it means is I'm going to have to hit the enter key each time that I want to add space to my document. So it requires you to hit the enter key more times than not, all right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and let's just see what happens when you don't use that. If I go back to the paragraph, dialog box launcher, and I choose after, but I'm not going to use the up arrow. I'm just going to highlight the 0, type in 8. I'm going to come over to line spacing, click on the drop down, choose multiple, and then I'm going to choose 1.08, okay? And then I'm going to choose set as default, choose all documents based on the normal template, and choose OK. Now notice how it added the regular spacing for me. So now if I type in Dear John and hit the enter key, I don't have to keep hitting the return key every time. So that's the differences between having no spacing versus having some spacing. And that's how you would do that. So if you like the default settings that you currently have, that's perfect. If you don't want to keep those, you can use the other instructions that I gave you to show you how to make the change. All right, I want to thank you so much for being in my audience. I totally enjoyed being here. I hope that you were able to glean some good tips from my instruction. If you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that like button.